Well, it's another brilliant day of netball action here at the Ballarat Blitz. Hello and welcome to Selkirk Stadium here in Ballarat for day 2 of the action. As we start the broadcast, we'd just like to acknowledge the Wadawurrung people as traditional custodians of the land that we meet upon today. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. Of course, we're here in Ballarat, in part thanks to the support of the City of Ballarat and the Victorian Government. We're here to watch the West Coast Fever take on the Melbourne Vixens. My name is Georgia Rajic. I'm joined, of course, by Hannah Kuhar. Hannah, excited for today's action?
Oh, absolutely, G. Ballarat has been a buzz this weekend, and we know netball is the centre of regional communities in Vic. So it's great to be here and can't wait to see what another day of netball holds in store.
Well, it will be the Fever and Zoe Kransberg getting us underway. The umpires for today's game, Nicole Wingrave and Sarah McNamara. The reserve is Jordan Kiss. And immediately, Alice Teague-Neal out for the centre pass receive. An early obstruction call against Maggie Karras provides the Fever with a 2-on-1 situation in the ring. Jo Weston's work is cut out for her. High ball over the top from Beckford to Wilkinson, and quickly and efficiently Fever on the board.
Got to love that first centre pass goes through the hands of Alice Teague-Neal. Her 29th birthday today. So anyone watching for Team Alice, a big birthday celebration to her and all of you. Hope you're partying wherever you are.
Of course, grew up in the great state of Victoria. Lots of family and friends here from the sounds of it as the Vixens get on the board. Let's quickly run through the lineups of both teams. For the Vixens, it is Sophie Garvin in goal shooter, goal attack Kira Austin, wing attack Zara Walters, centre Kate Maloney, wing defence is Kate Eddy, Jo Weston in goal defence, goalkeeper is Maggie Karras.
And for the Fever, as you mentioned, goal shooter before, Liv Wilkinson, goal attack Shanice Beckford, wing attack Alice Teague-Neal, centre Zoe Kransberg, wing defence Jess Anstis, goal defence Fran Williams, and goalkeeper is Ruth Ariang.
Yeah, interesting to see in the warm-up as well. Looks like Katie Ann Dehaney is wearing her civvies. She's not in the dress, so potentially might not see her in today's action just based on how she's sitting on the bench at the moment.
Yeah, KD, MJ and Jordan Kransberg, they are being load managed is what the club has told me. I do wonder whether the load management of Jordan Kransberg has to do with that left ankle that she appeared to have injured on the match against the Mavericks, the practice match earlier this week. She went off the court after that and we haven't seen her since, but load management is the official word out of the club.
Well, scores sit at 2-2 at the moment. Wilkinson with that quick little drive at the front of the post. She's been very impressive across the weekend, really building into her second season of Super Netball action.
Yeah, and she's got big shoes to fill, obviously, with Janelle not suiting up in the goaling end this time around. So Liv's got that goal shooter position to take. How she does that, it'll be on her own terms. It won't be the same style of Janelle, but she still has that height above every circle defender that she's had so far. But she has that extra agility, so we'll see how she works into this game.
Absolutely. Well, 3-3 as it stands at the moment. Fran Williams coming off the hands of Austin, picked up by Weston. Well, that's the hands-over defensive pressure the Vixens are known for across the court. Walters using Weston on the transverse line. Quick little give and go with Garvin. Top of the ring, does the long pivot to search for options. And a beautiful little split. And Ruth Arian can only just step back and put her hands over. Dominant work there from the Vixens for the first break of the game.
Yeah, yesterday Ruth started in wing defence, so today she's been shuffled back to goalkeeper. Of course, Zoe is starting centre, Jess was yesterday. So that whole defensive end is playing a bit of shuffling of the magnets, but Anstis is so comfortable at wing defence. It's probably where she plays her best netball. So I dare say this is a strong Fever defensive end that they're starting with.
Absolutely. I did see Jess Anstis in that centre position for a lot of last year as well. You know, as a leader of this club for the past 2 seasons. Interesting to see how she does her leadership on the court. I do agree with you about the wing defence being, you know, her preferred and strongest position, Hannah. So it's good to see what they can do with the shuffling of this team. Of course, lots of new talent coming in, lots of talent returning for their second year after, you know, quite a few players moving on at the end of season 2023. Again, just coming off the hands there, Vixens with another opportunity to extend their lead to 3 now. Walters again really loving the use of the transverse line to reset and back up. Maloney waiting for the option, punching through the middle was Garbin. Wadawurrung right on her tail, but out of play for defensive work.
That's all right. We're only 4 minutes in. She'll adjust the timing of her footwork. The arms were almost there. Just needs to take the feet through with her.
Well, Kira Austin's shot doesn't quite drop. A little bobble around before Fran Williams gets the follow-up ball. Now Fever with a chance to strike back, score off the centre pass, and held ball is the call. Full court defensive pressure at its finest.
Absolutely, and it was the one-on-one pressure. I'm calling out Walters. She was phenomenal in holding her player out enough to create that indecision in Ruth Ariang's mind. So even sometimes if you can't pull in the intercept yourself, just creating the delay and then a push to 3 seconds is enough of a win. So well done by the Vixens, although Fever back with ball.
Absolutely, the little replay in the circle from Garbin. Of course, Walters started in wing defence yesterday, moved across into wing attack, so she has the ability to swing across the 3 mid-court positions, brought the tenacity into wing defence as she plays the wing attack, and that's a beautiful long shot from Olivia Wilkinson, who's just been immense. Of course, you know, speaking a couple of years ago, she said her preferred position was goal attack, which is great for a player of her height. So interesting now to see how she is adjusting to more of that goal shooter role and what she needs to bring in the leadership in the circle. Well, quick reply on goal, so still remains 2 goals the Vixens' way. Should we have a little bit of a recap of yesterday's score as well? West Coast Fever happened to got the win quite comprehensively for a period of time against the Giants. In the end, it was only 6 goals the difference. 68-62 was the final score. The Thunderbirds and Vixens, that was a game that had many different lead changes, but really the Thunderbirds very strong at the end, even though you would say a lot of their lineup towards the end of the game probably won't be their starting 7 when the Vixens and the Thunderbirds come together in round 1. 60-57 the score there.
No, but I think that speaks to the strengths of the T-Birds squad. Of course, netball is so much more than just about the starting 7. The teams that do the best are the ones with the deepest bench, and there is no side that's more true for than the T-Birds. They used every play. They were the most frequent with their substitutions, making sure they used their full 10 last year throughout the season, and then they ended up premiers. So I don't want to draw a really simple conclusion, but it is usually the teams that have a plenty of talent. So T-Birds again, Coach Turner using the same strategy to get most of her players out there. Vixens, they've brought a smaller squad to the weekend, but they had a tough day at the office, only 3 goals. Kind of a reminder of that 2-goal grand final where they, again, were defeated.
As long as it's not a reminder of the semi-final where they lost by 25, I think there are those little steps, you know, the Vixens will be proud of in yesterday's game as well. So interesting, again, to see here, talking about those rotations. Yeah, Thunderbirds, as you said, Hannah, the squad that used the most substitutions. They used their 10 the most of any team in the league last season. Vixens were the team that only used their starting 7 the most. They had the least amount of substitutions, so very different game plans. And when you're in sticky situations, you need to have the option to come from the bench to try something different. And it's just been working so well for them throughout the past couple of seasons. But again, beautiful play here from the Fever in. Beckford and Wilkinson have been combining really strongly this weekend.
Yeah, they have. I think Beckford's got a hard role this year in trying to find the replacement for Janelle. She's going to be working with a whole lot of different goal shooting options and also just goaling circle options, and the pressure that's put on the mid-court to bring the ball down. That increases, which means that Beckford's role, again, has to change. If mid-quarters are getting more tired, she has to assist. If she has a goal shooter who's a bit fresher to the game or coming back from things like pregnancy, it just changes the role that she has to play again. So I think she's doing a great job of figuring out each combination and the role she has to play in each match.
Absolutely. Well, Teague Neal doing a mountain load of work as well, but they're coming off the hands of Kranzberg straight into the path of Western. Well, there's a very Vixen-dominant crowd here as well this morning in Ballarat. Long ball over the top, just so much on it, but a great follow-up from Austin and caught by Captain Maloney. A little give and go from Walters to Garbin. She's been loving having that front space, and then the hold there, her trademark hold, just sets herself up with so much space.
And that's goaling mastercraft right there, to know exactly where she needs to position her defender and do the work early to get her there. It's like that play was set up 2 or 3 balls in advance to give the short option, suck her younger defender high. Usually young defenders, they're happy to have a bite at things, as Ruth Ariang is always happy to look for the intercept and a quick deflection. So very clever of Garvin to recognise the space set up for her early. I mean, she's just done it again. It is such a textbook move.
It is beautiful netball to watch as well. And we saw a lot yesterday that in the second half of the Thunderbirds Vixens game, we saw mainly Garvin in goal attack and Austin in goal shooter. Lily Graham also had quite a lengthy stint. So now in the traditional positions, and Austin throws her arms up. She thought she got that one cleanly. But again, the defensive pressure, I feel like it's amped up a notch in today's game. I wonder if it's just playing a little bit differently. We did have a couple of questions where both teams holding their cards close to their chest yesterday in terms of knowing that they were going to be playing against each other in just a couple of weeks. Of course, Super Netball, really not long till it all kicks off on Saturday, 5th of April. And of course, the Vixens are heading to Adelaide to take on the Thunderbirds in the grand final rematch in round 1. We're heading into our first time out now, the way of the Fever. Would you expect we've seen the Fever tend to call timeout, so roughly around this point in the quarter. Part of their game plan, do you think, Hannah?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always a good idea when you're coming into the Power 5, the last 5 minutes, 2-point shot is activated. You want to have a discussion about what small tweaks you're going to make. As we've seen throughout these highlights, the Fever are doing a really good job of getting the ball to circle edge, or maybe not on that one, but they've been so composed. And now the question is, do they want to start edging out with those 2-point goals, narrowing the score line, springing ahead, or do they keep going for the security of the one? We've seen them use both strategies throughout the weekend and throughout previous practice matches. So I'll be interested to see how Coach Dan Ryan has adjusted the strategy throughout the weekend.
Absolutely. You can see there as well, Sue Gordian giving a lot of advice to the young Ruth Ariang in terms of how she should be doing her defensive positioning. Interesting, in the warm-up before we went to broadcast, Maya Kamwenda was spending a lot of time with Ruth Ariang, especially on the shot, telling her about the timing of the jump when she's defending. So curious to see how this all gets put into action once we go back to gameplay here. Doesn't look like either side are making any changes, of course. I mean, why not? It's been a great game to really kick us off for the final day of this Ballarat Blitz. Maloney gets us back underway just 6 seconds before we hear the super shot buzzer and we go into the Power 5. Walters looking to go out wide. Garvin, again, so much movement in her game this season. And a real tussle down the bottom. Throwing for the Vixens.
Great win there to Fran Williams to make sure that both defenders were overloading one side, and it was hard to swing the ball across the top. So that's why, with 2 sets of arms, they're able to get a deflection to that. So well done, Fever defenders.
Vixens making it very hard defensively, but the Fever just seems so composed in their options. They always know where their player is going to be. Cransberg looking for the low option. Karras getting a hand into it. Beckford from distance for the first super shot of the day. Sinks it. And well, the Fever level go down by 2, but still plenty of time for them to come back. Vixens having those early breaks in this game, but when both teams can be hitting those 2-pointers with ease, no surprise. Garvin was right under the post and managed it back in the 2-point zone. She goes for it, rolls off. And contact is the call. Ruth Ariang in the right position there for the defensive rebound.
And more than the right position, how about the fight on this? She's put her body in front and not afraid to cop the contact in the way to protect the possession for her team. So very courageous defence from the former Wannell MVP at South West Jets. One of my old clubs, so lots of love.
Great smother there by Maggie Karras. We've been looking for this all weekend. Plenty of opportunities for all 4 teams who've been playing, but a beautiful defensive smother and a block shot going her way. Walters again looking wide. Austin on the 45. Long, high, loopy feed in. And it finds Garvin.
And from that setup, you can see that Ruth Ariang was trying to prevent the 2-point shot. She was happily stood in front of Garvin, which meant the back paddock was free. So it looked like a clear, easy ball because it was a clear, easy ball for 1. We'll see if the Vixens continue with the strategy of notching up 1 after 1.
Well, 3 goals is the difference at the moment, so they've got that little bit of a buffer. But Wilkinson now on the 2. We know that she's good at these shots. Doesn't hit the first time, but she'll have another opportunity with Karis out of play. Olivia Wilkinson, she balks a couple of times, still hits the same position. Oh, plenty of Fever fans in the house today. They were cheering that one. Beckford, quick give and go, wanted to get the move on, go backwards and go for the 2. So the 4th opportunity now for the Fever.
Fever bench are not happy with the results. Looks like they're on tenterhooks there, and an easy pain relief by the 1-pointer.
Yeah, potentially when you're having that many opportunities, just go for the safe route, because especially in an offensive circle when you have 2 really tall defenders, Beckford, not of course the tallest goal attack we have in this league, one of the shorter goal attacks, but
170 centimetres, Georgia. It's very short for a pro netballer.
Absolutely. We were saying off broadcast yesterday, being around these players, you don't truly understand and recognise the height of the players on court until you're standing beside them. So Beckford at her height doing incredible work for the Fever. Garvin, while she had a look around, decided to go for the 1 underneath the post. And Vixens keep that 3-goal buffer. Kransberg finds answers for the centre pass. Receives it immediately back. Wilkinson doing a lot of work at the top of the attacking third for the Fever, and a miscommunication off the hands of Williams and pounced on by the Vixens. Walters almost moving too fast for her own feet, and Garvin, well, it wasn't an easy take by any means. Wadawurrung made it incredibly difficult, but she's showing great strength in the take and able to bring it down softly.
Yeah, really great positioning, just half a foot off it. So I'm very encouraged by how the whole defensive unit is setting up, because, of course, by the time the ball comes to the last line, Wadawurrung, she's got the one-on-one battle, so the pressure that's being put out the front means that the lofty ball's going up and giving her an opportunity to go for it.
A good pick up there from Teague Neal, straight down the centre, finding Wilkinson up high once more. Ansis having to use the ball in the attacking third to stay on side and keep her balance. And you can see Wilkinson immediately demanding it from Teague Neal. Again, she's really favouring the books to try and draw the obstruction from the defender. 3 the difference. Umpire Sarah McNamara holding time. 19 seconds. Fever centre pass. They want to score quickly here or try and delay some play, so Vixens be forced to take it quickly. Well, long loopy ball all the way back from Beckford to Answers. They find their way back into the circle. 2-point opportunity, and she sinks it from Wilkinson. Well, Maloney's in no rush, and we'll go into the first quarter break. Melbourne Vixens 14, West Coast Fever 13. We'll be back right after this break. We are back for quarter two between the Melbourne Vixens and the West Coast Fever. Melbourne Vixens leading by 1. Hannah, a great first quarter. Any changes that you can see on the court?
I'm just having a look now. We've got Graham, who's donned the goal attack bib for the Vixens, and still Garvin out in goal shooter. Otherwise, Fever, they're looking unchanged, so building consistency through the first half.
Well, Graham getting involved early. That second pass off the centre pass, then that little baseline drive will have her work cut out for her against the England captain, Fran Williams, as well. So
she started in goal attack yesterday, and it was Austin who started on the bench. So I think both just trying to work that combination again with Garvin. Garvin did play a bit of goal attack at the end of the day yesterday, but she's far stronger in goal shooter. So I think just working 2 goal attacks through the front line.
And Fever hit back with a long-range shot from Beckford. Just simple, quick, beautiful netball on display for the team in green at the moment. Walters doing a mountain of work in that wing attack position. Long ball over the top from Graham to Garvin. Just missed the connection, and first to follow the bounce with Ruth Ariang. So an opportunity here for the Fever to equal up the scoring and capitalise on a break. Teague Neal looking for the short option. Again, Wilkinson coming out of the ring. She does so much work outside the ring. A little bit of a missed ball there over the top, but Teague Neal able to just slap it back into play. An untraditional, unorthodox type of bounce pass, but it found Beckford. And strong defensive pressure there from Karras, but she'll be out of play for the contact. Beckford gives it to Wilkinson.
Yeah, that was really cleverly set up by the Vixens and Karras to get her arm to it. Of course, she was allowing the middle corridor to be free, so she was actually marking the outside of the goaler's body, which makes that angle of pass really hard if you're having to force a high ball through the middle. And then again, we see Fever just not being diligent with their use of ball, so either choosing the wrong angle or just the wrong option.
We've seen that 2 consecutive passages of play in a row from the Fever. Do you think it's more the fact that the Vixens have cottoned on to that is what Wilkinson is doing each time? She's going high and looking for that angled drive, so just cut off the drive, and it really, because she's almost throwing that without barely looking at where we're sighting the player where they're running into.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Georgia. And I think the difference is the Fever aren't cottoning on to the fact that those drives aren't working at the moment, because either they're being pushed to the other side, they've got a defender on the unorthodox side of body, or that they're making the wrong choice. So you're looking in the next couple of minutes for the leaders to stand up and settle the play. I think Alice Teague Neal has been doing a great job of that, because Kransberg is offering off the circle. She's not taking the drive to the top of the circle or to the 45. She's kind of setting off just a couple of metres to take the short ball and let Teague Neal take those drives. So Teague Neal just needs the support of the rest of her attacking unit to help back her up.
Yeah, and it's arguably a little bit messy at the moment. Hannah, we've seen some missed shots. Now, a couple of times the ball has just been thrown in the wrong direction from where players are moving. Joe Weston in a very difficult position there, and then Teague Neal. Exactly what you were talking about, the defensive part there. Exactly
the same thing, Georgia. Weston did a fantastic job of setting up on the body, creating enough doubt. The players are smart enough to recognise that that's an awkward angle. I don't want to give that ball. But then when you're at the 2.5 second mark, it's really hard to find something else. So either they need to be even more patient and pass it back to the transverse line, or someone needs to offer something front.
Well, Vixens then able to capitalise there. They restore that 2-goal buffer. Really interesting to see how they are setting up in their own attack end. Kransberg and Wilkinson happy to play it within themselves. Working for that long option there. Wilkinson providing it in the end.
Yeah, much better timing from Wilkinson to open up later, roll out and create some action. You want Beckford to help. I'd love to see the goalers work together, set some screens. I think at the moment they're working more so individually, which is hard to shake defenders. You can be smarter about it. It's almost that New Zealand style of netball of set a screen, maybe it's a down screen on the other defender, and then create something off the back of that.
Well, it has been exciting. Seems that now they've settled a bit more into this quarter. First couple of minutes messy. Now there's opportunities for them to hit. Of course, we know that the Fever tend to have that timeout at the 5-minute mark. Haven't been pushing it really any earlier, but Vixens have been adjusting their timeouts to when they're required. curious to see again. Lily Graham's been caught a couple of times. The defensive pressure that Fran Williams is putting on her has made her choose some interesting options, interesting drives. So I wonder if she'll be able to adjust and try and put more of an angle on where she's running into, because at the moment she's running quite a few times into a straight line. Might need to put a significant dodge in to try and drag her defender away.
Ooh. You contrast the two styles of goaling circle at the moment. You can see there's more separation of the Vixens goalers, which means that the defenders have to make the choice of who are you taking, who are you trailing, and what are you hunting. So I think that's why Ariang then was able to get her hand to ball. Obviously, she didn't come up with it, but it was the clear choice of, right, I'm going to go out for this lead. I think the way that the Fever goalers, you see they're moving in parallel, both made the same move. It means that there's less separation for the Vixens defenders, so they can effectively have a crack at both.
Now back into the Fever circle. Oh, they're keeping just within striking distance. Just over 5 minutes played in this second quarter. Eddie out with the centre pass received for the Vixens. Walters looks around, has to go overhead, passing it hard back into the centre third. A little bit of movement back and forth. No one really stuck hard. Joe Weston trying her best to stay on court. Garvin popping out and doing the work out the front once more.
Oh, I love her footwork on that. To know that, to change her pivot foot, sneak closer to post. She's looking silky out there.
She really has just expanded her game, especially considering that Sherelle McMahon has come back to the Vixens as a shooter. How excited would you be to have, someone of that caliber there to provide the specialist shooting advice?
Oh, absolutely. It's so special as a player to know the people you've looked up to, and now your coaches, or in even some situations with the age gap within these teams, they might even be your teammates. So certainly special to have a former Vixen back amongst the fold.
Well, we'll have a timeout the way the Vixens. Right as that was happening, Clara Wigley came onto the court for Captain Jess Ansis as well. So a young gun from Western Australia. Been really excited by her work in the National Netball Championships in recent years. But now we'll have a Vixens timeout. Of course, tickets for all Vixens home games at John Cain Arena are on sale now. Head to melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to book. Well, what do you think is being said here for the Vixens in their timeout, Hannah?
They look pretty relaxed. Looks like they're breaking up into unit groups. So Western taking control of the defensive end, and assistant coach Di Honey talking the goalers through. I can't see exactly what they're talking about, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was just focusing on what Fever are bringing to the table, of course, with their goalers. Figuring out what their combination is. It means that Eddie, she's talking about the bodies, where they need to position themselves. So, yeah, small adjustments from the Vixens.
And also good to see on the bench for the Melbourne Vixens, M. Mannix on the real left edge of your screen there. Of course, the defender from the Vixens, Baby Mabel, apparently also here as well.
Yes, Baby Mabel born on the 11th of Jan. So I'm hopeful that M. Mannix is going to come back at some point this season. I know that's expecting a lot of a new mum. She's probably still in a state of delirium, just getting used to the fact that she has Mabel in tow. But to see her here, it gives me positive signs, and hopefully other Vixens fans, we're getting secretly excited.
Absolutely. Well, both teams running back onto the court. Scores are level, 19 apiece. 8 minutes, 11 seconds left to play in this second term. Cransbeck to get us underway, and Wigley in her return, her first foray into the court, gets the centre pass receive. Wilkinson looking for the swing ball out wide to Cransberg. Beckford all by her lonesome. And well, the feed-in seemed almost confused off the hands of Cransberg, hitting the net on the way out.
I'm wondering if Cransberg simply couldn't spot the 170-centimetre Beckford, because it looked like she was free. Oh, as we see an awkward clash.
Well, we'll have the first time for the Ball and Mop squad here. Remy of Melbourne Vixens, Volunteer of the Year 2 years ago, on court with the mop. But also quickly, just a change there for the Vixens in the shooting circle. Garvin into goal attack, Lily Graham into goal shooter. Well, and the call will be obstruction against Ariang. So from the 2-point zone, won't count as a 2 just yet.
Yeah, I wonder if they've made that change to disrupt the combination of Garbin having to suit up against Ariang. Of course, in netball you can play against whatever defender you want, but I'm wondering if that athletic pairing of Graham v Ariang might be a better matchup for Garbin, who can be that consistent feeder, as we just saw, that patient option. So maybe it's already paying off.
Well, again, the movement of Graham in that little foray seemed more confident to sweep around the front of the court. She was getting tagged pretty body on body from Fran Williams. So exactly what you've just said there, Hannah. Just a little bit of changes, trying to get into their minds, allow the attackers to have a little bit more space. Vixens still hold that 2-goal lead. They've scored twice since that timeout. Fever unable to score off that first and a pass. They'll have another opportunity now. Kransberg to Wilkinson. She's deep in the two. Big, strong split from Beckford. Almost no look pass to feed to her fellow shooter. Well, that brings the Fever up to 20.
And it's a slower time to goal that we're used to seeing for Fever. Usually they can bomb it in from the transverse line when you have someone like Janelle under post. But of course, it's different now. They're going to have to be really patient with all of their decision making, not just the physicality. So I think that goal was a reward for their effort in having to look in, having to look out, and then back in.
Tignell out to Wilkinson. Well, you know, we're big fans of champ data here on the comms team today, but curious again, that time to goal stat, it is something really crucial that, you know, what we can see in the teams and what their plans are. Of course, with the personnel changes in the past couple of seasons for the Fever, we don't have like a Verity Simmons who were quick to feed in long. The patience from Teague Neal, she'll be more happy to receive the ball multiple times to look for that option. So again, it's all these little changes all adding up to what is now going to be a really different Fever side this season.
Absolutely, and I think the Vixens are almost the blueprint for a team who has to take their time to work it to circle edge. It's just their mid-quarters are so patient. They have the fitness and they have the smarts to work to edge, play a triangle, so have a mid-quarter come off, then re-sweep either to the top or the pocket, and then have another look in. I think the difference and why Fever can't play that exact style at the moment is because they don't have as much vision of the play in front. We saw before Kransberg, she overlooked her shorter goal attack option just because her eyes simply didn't have the range to see the player who was free. So I think Fever just need to keep their vision wide and still look down the court, even if they know they're going to go a short ball or a lateral ball. They have to always see that post.
Well, less than 5 to play now. Opportunity for the 2-point shot. Vixens out by 5. Fever looking for an option in the ring. Kransberg and Teague Neal playing it between themselves. No option really opening up. You can see the Vixens defense pushing them really high to the top of the ring, almost borderline outside the ring, making it difficult for the feed in. Beckford directly in front of the post. She'll have an ample opportunity, just kisses the top of the net and short. And of course, whenever Joe Weston does anything here, it's a big, big round of applause.
Absolutely, and you look at the height differential. Weston had such long arms over. She's 188 centimetres tall, so a full 18 centimetres taller than Beckford. So with that increased wingspan, you'd want to have arms over every single super shot because it's bloody hard to get it up.
Yeah, Kate Maloney was having a very difficult time there, using the most of her 2.9 seconds. Ariang had a great fly at it, but again, the strength of Walters as well. They collided in air, but net play really seemed to be just bounce off very easily. So Vixens get out of trouble there. It'll be a Fever timeout now. So curious to see, again, it's the stock standard timeout we see during this period for the Fever. But they've been doing well. It looks like there might be that change defensively. Fran Williams immediately goes to take the bib off, getting some advice from Sunday Ariang, who's not sitting up. You can see her on the screen in her shorts, not in a dress today. So curious to see what these changes will be. Potentially the switch from Fran Williams and Ruth Ariang to switch those two positions, which will force the Vixens, who had that switch in the previous timeout. So little games being played, not just on the court, but mentally as well.
Oh, the coaches love this kind of thing. Dan Ryan is such a mastermind, and I wouldn't be surprised if he saw one move happening and thought, I'm going to react to that and push the Vixens to play. Maybe they can't switch their bibs now, but they can switch which players they want to suit up on the other one. So that just changes the role of who's going to be the feeder and who's probably going to be in super shot territory, given that you have to set up so early for it.
Absolutely. So exciting times here, of course. Well, more exciting times to come because we look forward to returning to Selkirk Stadium on Wadawurrung country in July for the Victorian Netball League doubleheader where we'll be celebrating First Nations round. Of course, Victorian Netball League, we're big fans of it here. Of course, Hannah, you'll be suiting up for the Gippsland Stars.
Yes.
And that all kicks up on Wednesday, 12th of March, 10 days away.
Oh my goodness, pre-season finally comes to an end. I'll pretend to be very sad about that.
Well, we're back underway here at Selkirk Stadium. Zara Walters looking for the feed into Garvin. She's safely within the two. Has a look at this post. It just bounces out, really circled down and around. We'll get another opportunity. Came off a deflection for the rebound. Graham looking for the swing across Maloney. Wants the drive. Out pops Garvin in front, however. Both teams having a good balk at it, but she shoots it through. So Vixens extend that lead now to 28 to 20. 8 goals there, up by 2 minutes 53 to play in the second quarter. We've seen plenty of super shots as well from the Fever. How will they respond here? Beautiful ball in, right to the post, but Beckford immediately sided the run of Wilkinson. And it bobbles a couple of times and drops. So we're looking a little bit for a shootout this morning.
Or simply with this kind of margin, that's what you have to do. Of course, there is 30 minutes of netball to come after this, but you don't want to go into halftime with a 6-goal difference. Oh, gosh. So we see a very awkward fall. Poor Walters. Oh, she is not happy throwing the ball into the legs of Williams. Oh, gosh.
I was curious there if we were going to see some sort of an advancement, given that it's almost a bit of a retaliation in terms of that ball, but just held the ball for the time. Of course, a difficult position for Walters. When you fall like that, you can't really throw the ball from the ground. You have to get up, so unfortunately the footwork fall was inevitable for her.
Yeah, but that's netball. We know the rules. You have to have your feet on the ground. There's a difference between, oh gosh, I've fallen onto the ground, that's unfortunate, and I'm going to throw the ball into my opposition. That is something that you have the choice, and she's made that decision.
Absolutely. So we're curious to see if anything, if that's just a note for the umpires moving forward, and if anything further happens and it'll be advanced.
Yeah, see, you see how she's fallen. Bad luck. But this part here, yeah, you didn't need to do that.
Well, back to the game at hand. Vixens win back ball. Walters looking for the option. Maloney out wide, out of the circle. And the landing there. So time being held here. We're getting the mop back on court. So it does seem to be a little bit slippery in that area. But of course there will be the obstruction from Ruth Arring in that goal defence position. Graham just inside the one. Bounces off, and then Arring in the best position possible with the footwork. It's
her quickness and determination under the post. No Vixens goaler has been matching her tenacity for the rebound. And we know if you're going to miss a goal as a goaler, okay, that's a shame. But you have to pull in your rebound because then you have a change of possession and potentially the Fever. I was going to say they could score off a Vixens centre pass as the possession changes once again.
Oh, Beckford just seemed to bobble off the fingers, and Joe Weston in the best possible position there to pick it up. So the Vixens will venture back down. The positioning there of the pass, well, it was going to draw the contact or it was going to draw the intercept there. Garvin doing really well under difficult circumstances to bring that ball down. Less than 30 seconds to play. Vixens up by 7. Kransberg, again, Wilkinson really loving the use of width coming out of the ring to provide support. Eddie went up in the air with Kransberg. Two players that have played with each other extensively with the Kransberg's time as training partners for the Vixens. And that will be the end of the first half. It is the Melbourne Vixens 29, the West Coast Fever 22. We will be back after this halftime break.
At every turn, in every moment, Ballarat is never what you expect. Welcome to Ballarat, always brilliantly unexpected.
Hey, it's Kate, Sophie and Joe here from the Melbourne Vixens. We've hit the road thanks to the City of Ballarat.
Our first stop is Black Cat Truffles. We're going to see what we can find with some help from some four-legged friends. Let's go.
Let's go.
Hey Liam, how's it going?
Hi, welcome to Black Cat. How are you?
Black Cat Truffles is a truffle farm, restaurant and boutique event venue located just outside of Ballarat. Visitors to the farm can experience a truffle hunt, guided by expert handlers and their truffle hunting companions.
Your smile for the camera. As long as I'm getting pats.
So we've got some assistance from the puppies here. How will we know if they've found anything?
So basically the dogs will alert me to a truffle, they'll sniff around, and then they'll alert me by digging in the soil. What's here? What's this?
Oh, it looks like Hugo's found something. Well done, Hugo. Applause for the dog. Oh, you can hear
Just
it.
there. There's a truffle.
Good job.
Really mushroomy, really earthy. We supply some really great restaurants in Melbourne.
Got some goods from Liam's hard work here, and I think Kate, Sophie and I are really interested in trying some of this relaxed elegance in terms of service you were talking about.
Yep,
So
absolutely. Let's head back to the restaurant and we'll sort some food out for you.
sounds good.
In Black Cat's restaurant, Liam Downs, an award-winning chef, has a farm-to-table philosophy, serving up fine dining experiences using quality local produce.
Sophie always claps her food when she gets excited.
If you're sitting out there eating, you could feel like you're anywhere in the world, so we try to make people feel happy and welcome.
Well, that was amazing. I don't know how we're going to top that, but I think we need a carb load for training tomorrow. Let's go get some lunch.
Thank you very much. We are here at Carboni's Italian Kitchen. We're lucky enough to be getting a masterclass from the chefs today. Let's go. Ooh, this is cool. This is so fun, look.
Carboni's Italian Kitchen is a deli and restaurant and a Ballarat institution. The restaurant offers an authentic Italian dining experience, and Carboni's is also famous for its cooking classes.
Fresh pasta, is that what we might be making today?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, okay, I think we should give it a crack.
In front of you, each of you has a bowl with flour and semolina, and we're going to make a pasta dough.
Well done, Joe. How are you going over there?
I'm making it happen. It's pressure next to the professional chef next to me, but that's okay. I work well under pressure. Sophie, it's not a competition. Wow. Sophie, that is really incredibly impressive.
Which is very good for hand roll.
Hear that, Joe? Perfect.
Is that pasta or is that short crust pastry?
I'm happy with that.
We definitely should probably try some pasta.
At Carboni's next door, visitors can grab a coffee, panini or pastry, or stock the pantry with a selection of fresh pastas and antipasti. I don't know about you girls, but I'm so full. That was delicious. I've been given some good recommendations for the vintage market. Should we go check them out?
Let's go check it out.
Do it.
Woo! All right, girls, we're at the Ballarat Vintage and Collectibles Market. Should we go have a look what's inside?
Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Woo.
I know, I actually think we should get some little treats for the drive home. The Ballarat Vintage and Collectibles Market is located inside the Great Southern Wool Shed.
Ooh.
With over 80 stalls, the market is the go-to destination for visitors searching for rare and unique items.
Oh my god! No way.
What have you found?
That's a bargain. Oh my god! Did we plant this?
Coast to coast. And it's that popular, it has to have a security tag on it.
That's so funny.
Put it right front and centre. Whether you're looking for vintage, retro, collectibles, antiques or furniture, or just looking for somewhere to browse, the market has something for everyone. Joe. That was better than I thought. I think these ones.
Same.
Time to make our purchases. That's our third and final stop for the day. Soph's got her purchases. There is so much to do in the region. Make sure you head to visitballarat.com.au to plan your next trip. See ya.
Well, we're back for the third quarter between the Melbourne Vixens and the West Coast Fever. 7 goals the difference. Hannah Mundy now on court in the centre position. Kira Austin made her way back into goal attack as well. Sophie Garbin's headed to the bench. Lily Graham in goal shooter for the Vixens. On the other side of the court as well, Kate Maloney now into wing defence, Kate Eddy into goal defence, and Rudy Ellis in goalkeeper. So a lot of changes there for the Vixens. Looks as like a couple of changes as well for the West Coast Fever. Sloane Burton has come into goal attack. Zoe Kransberg into the wing attack position. Jess Anns has moved back into centre. Clara Wigley remains in wing defence. So a couple of changes for both teams going into the third quarter now. My name's Georgia Radjic. I'm of course joined by Hannah Cure. Hannah, lots of changes. What do you make of them?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see a few different players get opportunity. Of course, yes, we do want to win matches, but it is pre-season. It's more important to get valuable minutes, especially into players who might be training partners, who might be new to respective franchises or even just squads. So I think it's more exciting. Say a player who's got the ball at the moment or just about to take it, Sloane Burton. Great to see her getting an opportunity. Of course, her mum, Jules Burton, was an inaugural Perth Oriole, so great to see Sloane getting a crack at it after her stint at Team Bath, now back on Australian shores.
Absolutely. Has been a player around the Western Australian Netball League for quite some time. Of course, played for the Fever Reserves in the ANC in 2022 down in Traralgon. So now here, playing a trade in the West Coast Fever proper in this pre-season tournament. And well, both teams on the board in this third quarter. 30 the Vixens, 24 for the Fever. Kransberg, long ball down to Wilkinson again, really loving the width and strong front drive. Burton just popping out on the goal line. Gives the ball back to Kransberg. Now Wilkinson. And it's just a lovely shot just watching her shoot the ball.
It is a lovely shot, but it felt like both goalers were cramped in the same space. So I know we're only 2 minutes in, but you want players to start adjusting and reading off. I don't think it's Burton coming on that's the reason for that. I think we saw this in the first quarter and second quarter where both Fever goalers weren't reading off each other. They were playing more individualistic games rather than working as a cohesive unit. So we'll see if this combination can figure that out.
Just personally, I would absolutely love to see. I know Sloane's been great in goal attack and she's a very athletic player, but if they switch them around, put Wilkinson into goal attack and then Sloane into goal shooter, I would be really curious to see how that would look.
Georgia Radjic, big call.
But of course, it's just, you know, this is the beauty of these opportunities here for the players. Vixens win back ball. Just punching through the centre, using Mundy out wide, and Ruth Ariang, she's been impressive all weekend.
Just electric, and I love how she's hunting all of the balls outside of the circle. We know she's quick off the mark, so she can contest out, but valuably not get called out of play because she is so clean. That's the danger of being a hunting goalkeeper, is that if you go out and you take the body, then you're going to be penalised and it'll be a 2-on-1 back in the circle. But Ariang, because she has such a great sprinting action, she can get back to post and cover territory no matter where she is.
And I guess the similarities to her sister, of course, Ruth, who's been playing for so many years and just announced that contract extension as well this week for the Fever. So I'll be really curious if they're both on the court, what clean defensive style they'll play. Lots of energy. You'd hate to be a shooting circle going up against two defenders who play as quick and as cleanly as they do.
Oh, absolutely. Sunday, as you mentioned, she's re-signed till the end of 2026. So no doubt everyone in green is so stoked to have her, but also 2 sets of sisters within the Fever this year. So could we see a double sister combination at some point? Can't wait to find out.
Well, can't wait to call it for both of us, I'm pretty sure as well. Now, Austin going for goal. Williams out of play. She takes a step in. She'll have another opportunity with the obstruction call against Ariang as well. But the simpler shot just couldn't get it to drop appropriately. They'll keep adding to that scoreline. It's been pretty consistent, not too many breaks. Now 9 the difference. Austin just pops it in the air for Maloney to float onto. Fever defence floating off the body a bit more now. Austin off balance. And Ruth Ariang got up in the air.
What a great result for the Fever. as you alluded to, Georgia, they were playing a zone, so a box setup. They've got, it's just like a little square staking perimeter and trying to hold the space. In doing so, they've clogged that transverse space, meaning you can either look short, as the Vixens tried to do, or you can go long, and usually that happens once you've lost patience or your level of fatigue says that option is on. Really, it's not, but that's just your fatigued brain talking. That was exactly the ball that landed pretty much in the hands of Ruth Ariang. So the defensive work of the unit to reward Ariang, mwah, chef's kiss.
Well, and they are rewarded indeed. They are able to score off that Vixen centre pass. What can they do off their own here? And unfortunately just bounce through the legs of Ansis, helped by a deflection from Alice. Well, Vixen's now looking short. Fever looking to, didn't quite get there back in time to fully set up that zone off that first phase. They're using it now. Graham, a long way out. Austin was calling it for in the drive. Potentially, Aaron just coming off the body a bit. Ansis hits the deck in the play. Well, Kira Austin wants it back. Mundy has the hesitation. The pressure is mounting here, and it's been a real tussle and fight for the Vixens to try and find the ball and feed it in to result with a shot to goal, but Graham manages it to get it done. So scoring off each other's centre passes now. Vixens will look to use this one as a settler. Walters with speed, and it is speed that beats the Fever defence. Graham has to do the step back, the trademark Steph Retwell step back to get over the long arms. Difference now out to 10 for the Vixens. Austin out of play with the obstruction. Well, really quick response there from the Vixens, trying to break through the Fever defence, not allowing them the time to set up properly, Hannah.
Absolutely, and I think the micro moment was the bounce pass of Mundy to go from pocket to top. It felt like before that pressure relieving pass, everyone was starting to get nervous, and of course with new combinations you don't quite have the trust in other players. You're still learning what they do in pressure situations, so you could sense the Vixens were looking around thinking, uh-oh, who's going to be the pressure relieving pass? And it was the cleverness of Mundy to fire off a bounce pass, which so many people feel nervous about, but it was the pace on it to swing the passage of play from right corridor to top that opened things up. So Vixen's in a much better place.
I feel like bounce passes are having a bit of renaissance at the moment through the in untraditional positions. Of course, we see them happening into the goal circle, happening around the goal circle, and a bit more in the mid-court. I think we saw last year as well. I argue it's always a more New Zealand style to be playing those bounce passes in non-traditional spots, but it's interesting to see how it is being applied by these teams at the elite level now.
I personally am a big fan of them. I think there's a time and place for every kind of pass, and you're using a bounce pass with like a pacey one like the one you saw with Mundy to get under sets of arms, as we see arms everywhere pushing the ball over the sideline.
Yeah, it just seemed to be 2 fumbles, and Fever regained possession that second time, luckily, but it's again about having that composure, really grasping onto that ball properly. Again, Eddie out of play here, so Burton will have the opportunity. We're still just under 2 minutes away from that power 5. Of course, both teams who are playing in that next game have made their way to the stadium. You can see that the defence end for the Thunderbirds are also watching on quite keenly. Tanya Wilson, Shamira Sterling-Humphrey, and of course their coach, Kathy Fellows, defensive mastermind, and Australian under-21s coach.
Yeah, absolutely. The Thunderbirds are taking on the Giants this afternoon, so we'll see how that matchup goes. But of course, the T-Birds, their defensive unit is one of the best in the world. No doubt a lot of preparation and a bit of scouting goes on, so good to see behind the scenes, behind the curtain at the Ballarat Blitz.
Of course, a change has happened in the meantime as well. Tyra Watson has made her way onto the court in wing attack. Zara Walters off, so really exciting to see a young Victorian mid-court talent coming on. She's been playing for the Northeast Blaze, of course, playing for the Victorian 19s, has also made her way to Australian representation as well in the underage groups. A real bright spark and a real physically strong player as well. Having conversations yesterday, remnant of a Liz Watson, which is probably the highest compliment you can have, and as a Victorian midfielder, a mid-quarter coming through the ranks.
Oh, it is amazing, the story of Tara Watson. To think that she grew up idolising Kate Maloney. They came from the same netball club, Nillumbuk Force, or you might remember them as Diamond Creek, that kind of region out in Whittlesea, and now she's playing with her. So crazy to see how quickly she has come through the ranks and idolising Liz Watson, and now much of her mould. I think that is a pretty special thing.
It really is. Of course, we are in another timeout. It is expected. I think almost we can pretty much set our clocks to it. That will be one around this time. Definitely this time it is the way of Melbourne Vixens though. So curious to see if the Fever will call their traditional timeout around that Power 5 period. We did see yesterday pretty much a timeout called, literally one goal scored and then another timeout called immediately. So maybe win for that today. You never know what's happening in these pre-season games. Lots of conversations being had. You can see that as well that a lot of work from Simone McInnes with the defensive unit for the Vixens in this break here. So again, separating into their parts of the course in those conversations.
Yeah, they'd be wanting to combat the impact of the Fever looking for super shots. Of course, down by 6, they're happy to throw them up. So there's going to be a lot of proactive work of the Vixens defenders to make sure that they're either going to concede that 1 point territory and make sure Fever don't get enough defensive gains to get their scores back on the board, or simply prevent the 2 point shot.
Well, Tara Watson, who just came on into wing attack, now swung into centre, Mundy into wing attack. So a little change of position there for those two players as well. 6 goals the difference, just over 5 minutes and 35 seconds to play at the moment. Cransburn looking for an option in, tapped away by Eddie. Contact is the call against her, however. There's a lot of energy, very Vixen strong support here at Selkirk Stadium in Ballarat. Sloane Burton goes for the step in, bounces off the top. Eddie first up for the rebound.
Yeah, Eddie was unlucky before with that penalty. I feel like her footwork was really good. She was in the right position, but just a fraction too late, hence why the penalty was applied. Great that her hustle, I mean, it helps when the rebound falls exactly into the position that you're in, but I'm glad that her hustle has been rewarded.
Long ball from Austin to Mundy. Graham out on the goal line, was trying to draw Aaron away from post. Brought inside, the siren goes, and a quick little pass to Graham. Now out again to Mundy. Austin parked all by her lonesome under the post. They'll go for the 1 and bring that lead back out to 7.
Yeah, funny in that play that Austin recognised the siren was about to go off. Why shoot a long-range 1 point when you can go for 2? In the end, still having to go for 1 just because the positioning wasn't on. You saw Graham was tentative, didn't want to put up the 2. So we'll see how they work together now. Austin very high to that transverse line.
Yeah, Watson looking for Austin again. Graham, no one in the ring at the moment for the Vixens. Lots of whistle being called. Of course, Caitlin Brown now into that goal defence position for Fever as well. And a beautiful super shot from Lily Graham.
And that's the prior preparation. You saw the play before. She didn't want to shoot the super shot because she was off balance. You want to know exactly what you're going to be shooting as a goaler. You take a few seconds, take a deep breath, then get it off. That was a much better display of 2-point prowess.
Well, somehow the Fever keep a hold of that ball. Burton doing so well. Eddie thought she had the block. Well, and Alice using her body to protect the ball to make sure Wilkinson had no opportunity to get anywhere close to that rebound. Bounce pass through the middle from Maloney. Wilkinson again just trying to throw her long arms to cause disruption. Through the middle, a lot of hands over pressure from the Fever here.
Oh, wow, offensive contact. That is brutal. A really strong drive, but unfortunately just going too much into the body. You can only kind of brush the shoulder and certainly not put enough contact in it for your opponent to fall to the floor. So as we check out the replay, look at this drive. Oh, hang on, here we go now. Yeah, bang. That almost looked like a training drill when you've got the footy bags out and you're just plunging through. You cannot do that on game day though.
Absolutely not. Of course, you know, the strength of these players that they have, and it's also adjusting to make sure that they aren't going to be causing that offensive contact through their strong drives. Watson hard past her, and she had to thread the needle just a little bit off. Again, the defensive pressure there from the Fever. Smart from Austin, went out wide to Mundy, immediately drove into the 2. It drops in for her as well. And while the Vixens keep chipping away, They go up now by 9. Considering the scoreline in this game, the fact the Vixens are 41, Fever 32, it feels remarkably closer. Do you agree with that, Hannah?
Couldn't agree more, Georgia. I feel like the Fever, they should be much closer, but alas, they've had this score differential for a long time. It was 10 goals previously, so they are clawing it back. And maybe they'll do even more so off the efforts of Brown.
Absolutely. These are, and of course, Caitlin Brown played, who's plied her trade in the Western Australian Netball League for quite some time. Jill McIntosh medalist, the best player judged in the competition for 2 separate occasions, including last season. For her to be standing up, getting those intercepts, you can see there on the bench, Katie Ann Dehaney and Fran Williams standing up to applaud her. This is her opportunity to really make her mark and say, I deserve a spot in this team moving forward in years to come.
Oh, completely. There was a small roar from Selkirk Stadium, but I reckon there was a Western roar. Pardon the pun, that's the team she played for in WA, over back at home, because there's a lot of excitement that comes along with Caitlin Brown. She's such a well-loved player within the WA netball community, so to get her moment in the green dress, it's something for her family and friends and the netball community to get around.
Well, we were talking about how the difference was 9, now it's 3. They've been able to just claw it back in the past minute remarkably well. Austin going for the 2 from distance. We'll get it, we'll bring back a little bit of a buffer now, but there's an opportunity for the Fever to try and score.
Oh, no. And this is what momentum does, and this is what pressure does. When you feel the tide rising for the Fever, and that was the centre pass they needed to hold on to, you just want your settled heads to take a breath and put the pressure on the Vixens.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Vixens now will look to punish the Fever. There was a real strong opportunity for them to keep it in. They're in no rush. They're winding down the clock as they can because they have their own centre pass to come after this one. Graham just inside the 1, gets the goal.
At the same time, you don't want to wind down the clock too much. They're going into this centre pass with 15 seconds. At this point, you'd rather have a couple of extra ones in the back pocket, but they let that ball roll.
Again, the front sweep from Graham. She'll have plenty of time to go for the 2-point. Well, it's back-to-back super shots for the Vixens to finish out the quarter. And they'll go into the final break leading 46-38. 8 points of difference, and we'll be back right after this final break. final quarter between the Melbourne Vixens and the West Coast Fever. 6 goals the difference between the two sides. There'll be a West Coast Fever centre pass to get us underway. Believe it or not, Fever did so well to claw back the deficit in that last quarter, but because of consecutive super shots for the Vixens, they end up losing it by 1, 17-16. It was a great high-scoring quarter between the two sides. But now, of course, beautiful work there from Watson. Well, rather, Kate Maloney. It's Watson in wing attack now. She's made the move back.
Look, I'm going to confess, Georgia, the Vixens hairstylist, I reckon there's probably one, considering they're all rocking the same blonde bun, and not making life easy for commentators out here. The whole midcourt, the blonde bun brigade, I know lots has been made of it, but it is just really hard to watch from home and know who's who.
Absolutely, and I have to give credit there to Sophie Garben for switching to the ponytail. I know there's been some interest on Twitter because she has got the tutorial for the back bun on her TikTok account because it's very highly requested. But she has moved to the ponytail this season, which means
so
she keeps it up for Super Netball. But of course, Kate Maloney now made the move into wing attack. There's been a couple of changes for the Vixens. Mundy into centre. We did see at the back end of the third quarter, Tara Watson getting a bit of a run for the first time this weekend. And of course, other change, Sophie Garben back into goal attack. Kira Austin to goal shooter. Lily Graham has gone to the bench for the Fever. Sloane Burton remains in that goal attack position. She shoots beautifully for that goal. And of course, Alice Teague-Neal has made her way back onto the court in wing attack. Fran Williams in goalkeeper, but otherwise no other changes across the court for the Fever.
Interesting on the Vixens changes that you've mentioned in Garben playing goal attack and Austin heading back to goal shooter. Of course, we saw this combination late in the match yesterday. And it's unconventional for the Vixens in that usually you have the taller, stronger body in Garben playing back at goal shoot. So it makes me wonder what they're trying to do specifically with the defenders. Of course, you noted Brown, the newcomer to the Fever lineup. She's out in goal defence, so maybe the smarts of Garben will get her athletically out to the front and then leave the one-on-one contest in the back between Austin, who has that beautiful hold. We just don't see it as often.
Well, their ball won back by Teague-Neal. Wilkinson passes back. Burton trying to call for the front space. Wilkinson strong on the hold. Under the post. Well, they've shot 2 goals to start this quarter. Of course, Vixen just won. Mundy, quick, hard shoulder pass from Austin to Maloney. She looks overhead with the ball. Really forcing that ball over the top. Garben skims off the top, but a helping hand from Fran Williams would mean the Vixens will take the throw-in. Mundy setting up camp at the top of the ring. Again, long ball over the head. Garben just exploiting her use of that hold. She does it oh so well. We're going goal for goal to open up the final term in this game. Of course, one more game to go in the Ballarat Blitz after this one. The Giants taking on the Thunderbirds. Giants players watching from the sidelines at the moment as the Fever add another to their tally.
And you watch off the centre pass, the way that Fever's setting up. Of course, they're looking to put pressure on that first phase, but now the work of the Fever defenders to hold their goalers to the top as high as possible. Of course, there aren't 2-point shots at the moment, so you can push high and play that conventional netball. I think the Fever defenders are doing a great job on that one-on-one physicality.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a bit of a calmer, less high energy start to this quarter, do you think, Hannah?
Yes, but an intercept like that gets the Ballarat crowd going. I dare say they've got plenty more juice in the tank. 8 goals, they're just sitting pretty at the moment, but don't worry, these fans have a lot of voice.
Absolutely. And it's a scramble in the circle. And somehow Austin always in the right position to chase after that ball. So we're going goal for goal again. Vixen scoring off the Fever centre pass that time. Well, Zara Walters in the wing defence really struggled to get that ball around the hands of Teague-Neal. Maloney setting up shop on circle's edge. Now Austin goes for the balk, doesn't quite drop. Fran Williams goes for the run after the ball. Garben hits the deck in the circle. And now the long cross-court ball. They've been favouring it throughout the weekend. The Fever. Brown waiting for the run
Yeah, and I love that fake of Brown to relieve Burton of pressure. By giving her that fake, it meant she could keep running further into the circle. She knew she had the replacement train service coming behind via the mid-quarters. So clever to let Burton free, get her to post, and then you can see the goaler-to-goaler interplay under post.
Lovely work there from the Fever. Well, curious to see, of course, there's not really many bench options today for the Fever. They did bring a pretty big squad across the weekend as well, but given the load management of some of their key players, we see Sunday Arion on the bench, Katie Dehaney, as is Moai Kamwenda, so no opportunity there to see the Vixens' former player against her old side, but beautiful work there from Walters.
Do you reckon that was Dan Ryan just having a little whisper saying the marketing team wants you to hold back? We really want that MJV Vixens showdown to be worth every penny in the SSN season.
You know that the marketing teams will have their comms and copy written in advance all week. It'll be the story on everyone's lips, a really strong narrative going into that game. So good to see here now from the Vixens. Again, Zara Walters started yesterday's game in wing defence. Mainly, we see him more so as a wing attack than we do in any other position, but I do love what she brings.
Oh, awesome take of Austin. There was a lot of courage to go up for the flyer, draw it down, and know that she was going to get pushed to the ground whilst you're in midair. So very brave. Glad she was rewarded with the penalty.
Sophie Garvin continuing on her strong form. Now, the lead back out to 9. Vixens to make this 10. Misread dodge from Mundy to Austin. So again, now an opportunity in the back of play as well. Zoe Kransberg running into the court into centre. Jess Ansis heads to the bench. Brown to Teague Neal. Will look to go back to Brown once more.
All players are congested on this broadcast side. Now, thankfully, Teague Neal's gone to the fat side. But interesting that it takes a few plays to be able to spread the court again and regain composure. Again, Teague Neal, the one to take the leadership and make it happen.
Well, Sloane Burton, she's been very impressive on the court. Goes to the long range. She makes sure that the Vixens are able to extend that lead. Now out for the centre pass receive. Using the transverse line, Caitlin Brown has been really useful in setting up attacks, and somehow Zara Walters pickpockets the ball off Kransberg. Garvin on the move all by a lonesome. The double defending and Austin in the ring means she's had the time and space to set up play around and outside. Austin looks to offload. Garvin has to use the full split, really anchor that ankle down so she can stay close to post. And with that, now another opportunity for the Vixens to bring that scoreline out to 10. Wigley with the arms across obstruction. Oh, also Caitlin Brown out of play in the ring rather. Austin pops the ball in the air for Garvin. And well, that makes it 10 for the Vixens.
Which is such a shame given the Fever. I think it was a 3-goal margin late in the Power 5 in the previous quarter. So you don't want to let things blow apart and have to wait for that final 5 minutes to claw back via 2-pointers. The pressure needs to be put on now. I know 90 seconds until the super shot hits, but it looks like the Fever are preparing for that 5 minutes of impact, swinging some changes in their defensive end.
Yeah, Ruth Ariang has returned onto the court into goalkeeper. Fran Williams immediately put the goal defence bib on but went to the bench, and also Jess Ansis has come back onto court into wing defence. Clara Wigley to the bench, and immediately Ariang, you can see the impact there, causing disruptions, wasn't able to get the deflection with a gain, but important hand in ball nonetheless. Just puts doubt in the mind of the Fevers, and Austin from distance.
Yeah, what a great settler from Austin. You could see the hands over 1-2 impact of Ariang, which throws off your timing often as goaler. So for Austin to stomach that pressure, take a breath, and still release the 2-point attempt undisturbed by the defensive arms in front of her, that's the courage that you need. That's going to lift the Vixens. Just to take the deep breath, girls. We still have a big score lead and only 5 minutes to play. Just play your normal game.
Absolutely. Beautiful play there from Teague Neal. Almost the pirouette to turn and immediately sight Wilkinson on the goal line. Keep within striking distance. Now Walters, that long ball, using the broadside channel well. Again, Austin not afraid to swing cross court, opens up the space then for Garvin, and it's a beautiful play from the Melbourne Vixens.
And given that the Vixens can still keep scoring via one-pointers, the Fever defenders have a really tough task, and they want to prevent the two-pointer, but also if they let the circle open up like that, it's really challenging. And you know Garvin, she is so equipped to set up a hold, roll out, move to post. It's her bread and butter. That's exactly what she did.
Well, the first attempt of a super shot in this Power 5 goes amiss for Olivia Wilkinson. So now the Vixens trying to capitalize on that miss, and beautiful arms there from Burton, and she's able to pick up the ball for her team. Defensive prowess from the goal attack for the Fever. Wilkinson all by herself, but they want to play it around to get in the two. Well, she's parallel with the goal line. She'll go again. Another miss, just bouncing off the top. Rallis first there for the rebound. Walters with speed to bring it down the court, and somehow punching through a swarm of bodies in defence. And Ruth Ariang, well, there was a real big moment of excitement there. She got the hand to it, but judge obstructed, and the super shot goes through for Kira Austin.
No, I love what Austin's doing. She's timing her lead so expertly. Given that Ariang, she's going to hunt, and she needs to for her team. That's down by 11. She has no other choice. So you know what you do? You be artful around it. Let her dash out, and then 1 second later, that's when you make your lead go. And it was such a beautiful drive. Just, you could see her celebrating afterwards with Garvin. What a beautiful combination they play, both in the Vixens and at the Diamonds level.
Absolutely, and of course, Fever timeout now. This is, bread and butter, what we expect from them as we have all weekend. But the Vixens, well, if you've been enjoying what you've seen this weekend at Selkirk Stadium here in Ballarat, the Vixens are hosting their annual Fan Day at Federation Square on Sunday, 23rd of March. It is a free event for the whole family. Come along and meet the Melbourne Vixens, grab new merch, and have a fun day out thanks to the City of Melbourne. So plenty more action before all the Suncorp Super Netball kicks off on Saturday, 5th of April. We're in for a really exciting couple of weeks. And again, the whole team there having those conversations there with Simone McInnes and Captain Kate Maloney. Just, of course, the highlight of the season is always listening to what Kate Maloney says in these huddles. If I could, record it, set it as my morning alarm.
Your morning alarm?
I think I'd wake up in a good mood every day.
Oh, I think I'd be a bit scared. I think I'd want to stay in bed because I'd feel too nervous to get out of it if Maloney was barking instruction at me. But each their own, Georgia.
Vixens out by 11, the biggest lead of the game so far, going into the final 4 minutes of play. Bounce pass from Austin to the top of the circle, opens the space for Garvin next to the post. And while Austin was standing by herself in the two-point shot, but the Vixens, they're happy to rely on the ones now. They've got that safe lead out to 13. Wilkinson looking for Burton. Now for the long-range shot, coming off the hands of Joe Weston. And while it's a whole heap of struggle for every player to get two hands in it, in the end it's Teague Neal coming up with the goods. Walters throwing everything in the kitchen sink at her defensively as well.
Look, really cleverly placed ball. Teague Neal passing to the space rather than the player in Burton herself. Because again, both goalers getting caught on the same side of the play. Burton knew that she was going to be way too close to be used, hence why she dashed along the goal line. So the result, yes, it worked out, but again, you want the goalers to be working together and creating enough separation to have two viable super shot positions.
Mundy and Walters combining off the centre pass. Joe Weston loading up the trademark shoulder pass. And again, and that is a massive win there for the Fever. Their zone defence coming up trumps. They win the ball. They try and move with speed down the court. Burton looks in, looks long, looks around to Kransberg. Then Wilkinson doesn't like the angle for the shot. Still camping out in that two-point zone. Out pops Sloane Burton now to try and finish it off. Couldn't quite get through the ring. And again, the Vixens, well, they've been first to the ball for those rebounds, and it's been working well. Now, down the other end, they're moving again with speed. Both teams really want to try and score as efficiently as possible. Garvin under the ring, it doesn't drop. And again, Ariang now, who's had this footwork speed all day. Maloney tries to slap it away from the reach of Williams, and now the long feed from the centre third from Teague Neal into Wilkinson. Can she finish it off? Yes, she can.
And I'm so glad that ball was delivered so early into Wilkinson, because the previous play she was also left free, I think 3 passes before the ball was delivered. So this is the moment to have a bit of abandon for the Fever and just get the ball in. You don't have enough time to waste, and with another 2-pointer like that, suddenly we have a ball game on our hands.
Absolutely, and like you touched on before, in that third quarter, the final couple of minutes, they were able to reduce it down to 3 before the final difference in that break with being 8. So we know they have it in their arsenal to come back in such a way. Maloney doing her best efforts to make sure the Vixens find a route into goal, and somehow Kransberg, she read the flight of the ball off, and somehow Walters comes up, but it gets dropped in the melee that followed. Kransberg then coming up with balls, looking for the long option. Both goalers floating off the defenders. Wilkinson goes long, it bounces out. Weston to Hannah Mundy just astride the transverse line. They're looking to go with the short option, break through that zone. Maloney setting up base on the 45. Low delivery in, decides to opt out back to Mundy. They'll reset through Joe Weston. Just over 30 seconds left to play in this match. The long ball invited Wadawurrung, but too much on it. Will the Fever be able to save face, try and get a goal towards the end? And off balance was Teague Niels, caught by Weston. And now home alone by herself in the ring, Kira Austin. And that is an important settler there for the Vixens.
Well, they don't need to settle this game. Well and truly theirs.
It was a frantic energy. And that will be the final whistle blown. The Vixens run out 8-goal victors. Or 9-goal victors, 59 to the Fever's 50. And it's a big round of applause from the home crowd here in Ballarat at Selkirk Stadium. Well, it's been a brilliant game, hasn't it, Hannah?
Oh, absolutely. And how good for the Vixens to finish the weekend on a win. That was a really consistent 60-minute performance against a topsy-turvy Fever. I think the Fever had their moments. They had momentum all the way into the final minutes of that quarter. It was just the pressure-relieving moments that they didn't face up for the challenge, but the Vixens consistent throughout. That's how they played their netball in 2024 and for many years prior. Again, the work rate to circle edge, composed options. There's a lot to like for this team in 2025.
Absolutely. 4-quarter performance, like you said, because they won every single quarter as well. So it's been great having you here with us this week, and of course made possible by the support of the City of Ballarat and the Victorian Government. My name is Georgia Rajic, been joined by Hannah Kua. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back at 1 p.m. for the second game of the day and the final game of the Ballarat Blitz. It's been a beautiful weekend so far. We have the Adelaide Thunderbirds taking on Giants Netball. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back at 1 p.m.
Yeah, what a great...
Not afraid to swing cross court, opens up the space then for Garvin, and it's a beautiful play from the Melbourne Vixens.
And given that the Vixens can still keep scoring via 1 point...
of excitement there. She got the hand to it, but judged obstructed, and the super shot goes through for Kira Austin.
It worked out, but again, you want the goalers to be working together and creating enough separation to have 2 viable...
Shoulder pass, and again... And that is a massive win there for the Fever. Burton now to try and finish it off. Couldn't quite get through the ring. And again, the Vixens, well, they've been first to the ball for those rebounds in the ring. Kira Austin. And that is an important settler there for the Vixens.